Hey there, fellow readers, Mrs. Weidman here, and today we're going to be talking about the young adult historical fiction novel A Million to One by Adiba Jaigirdar. And this book actually follows four separate protagonists, if you can't tell from the cover. Right, and the first is a girl, and her name's Violet, and she's originally from Croatia. Then we have Emily, who's an artist, and she is both Haitian and French. And then we have Hina, who's a circus performer and a gymnast, and she's originally from India. And then the last character that rounds out the cast is a girl, and her name is Josepha. And she's from kind of a wealthier background in Ireland itself. So at the start of this book, it's the early 1900s, and these four girls are living together in a boarding house, which is sort of like a long-term hotel, right? And as the four girls are staying there, they're really kind of struggling to get by. They're running out of money. They're not really quite sure what they're going to be able to do with their lives and what their next steps are. And in order to survive, Josepha, Violet, and occasionally Hina, right, will get together and they'll perform some really petty thievery, which means they'll go around and be pickpockets and steal money. But sometimes they actually put on more elaborate cons where they create these elaborate schemes to sort of steal a lot of money from some very wealthy families in Dublin, right? But we've come to find out that Josepha actually has her eyes on a bigger prize. And for the past couple of months, she's been planning this really grand heist to steal this book called The Rubaiyat. And if you've never heard of The Rubaiyat, it's actually a book of Persian poetry by Omar Khayyam. And this book has been published dozens and dozens of different times. However, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, somebody had a great idea to take a copy of The Rubaiyat and make it into the most beautiful book, the most expensive book that the world has ever seen. And this book actually exists, and it has a fascinating history. If you ever want to look it up, it's not covered in A Million to One, but it will kind of blow your mind from a book decorating, book artistry, book value sort of stance. Right. So anyway, Josepha is convinced that if they can steal this copy of the Rubaiyat, which is beautiful, covered in jewels, has gold leaflets, right, in some of the pages, worth thousands of dollars, right? She knows that if they can be successful and steal this book, she and the rest of the girls will never have to worry about money for the rest of their life. So she forms these elaborate plans. Of course, she gets her team together. The other three girls are like, yep, let's do it. Josepha's ready. We trust what she's going to say, right? And then Josepha tells him, well, in order to steal this book, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to board this boat. And while we're on the boat, we're going to have to pretend that we're people that we're not in order to con some of the rich, very famous, very wealthy people that are on the ship with us. Then we're going to figure out where the book is, and then we're going to steal it. And then I have a buyer lined up in New York that will buy the jewels from us after we destroy this beautiful piece of art, right? So as the plan kind of takes shape, the four girls board the boat where the Rubaiyat is being transported across the Atlantic. And little do they know, right, that the boat that they're on is never going to make it to New York City, because the boat that they board to steal the Rubaiyat is the one and only Titanic. And we, as readers, of course, know what happens to that ill-fated ship, right? We know that it is indeed sinkable, but unfortunately the characters in the story have no idea. And that kind of starts every chapter off with this really crazy countdown where we know, hey, we're counting down to the sinking of that ship, right? Where, unfortunately, thousands of people died due to a series of ill-fated mistakes. But, of course, Emily, Violet, Josepha, and Hina have no idea what is about to happen as they try to steal this book and eventually try to survive. Right, so if you're a fan of super action-packed books, if you love a good heist novel, if you want characters that have super awesome all-female cast members with a little bit of romance involved, then A Million to One might be a great next read for you. See you all online soon.